Dana, I'm confused.
Okay, 1 second.
Because I...
Hi everyone, we're here today for the Chamber Webinar Seminar with Lois Raats of Ready to Grow Associates, and Lois is going to be presenting on Content Creation Blueprint. Thank you for coming in today, Lois.
Thanks, Dana. Great to be here. Thanks everybody for joining me on this webinar. This is a hot topic. It's an important topic because so many of us have kind of struggled with the whole social media and content and just trying to understand how do we make this thing work for us to grow our business. How do we actually create content that drives sales? And that is really the focus of our presentation today. It's fine to create content, but we have to actually create the content that's going to drive our business forward. So I'm Lois Raats, and I have about 25 years experience in all different kinds of ways and sectors across industries, helping people to get their business and their life to the next level. And my focus throughout this process has partly been on marketing and creating different brands. About 6 years ago, I created Ready to Grow Associates, and have created that brand and marketed that, and part of that marketing has been content. So I've just had a lot of interest in this topic and would like to share that with you. What I love to do the most is strategic planning, change leadership, and business development. Content creation is a big part of that. I would really appreciate if you are listening to this webinar and you want to tweet. There's my Twitter handle there at the bottom, and my email. If you have a question that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to go ahead and do that. So how are we all feeling about content marketing these days? There's a number of different categories here. Are you one of those people who is highly successful and loving content marketing? Or are you one of the other folks? And I'd say probably in my experience, I don't know, at least half of the people out there in the bottom 4 categories. How can we actually use it to help us get more sales? We got this, and we got a bit of content that we've been writing, but how do we actually make it work for us and actually help it drive revenue? Maybe we have a blog, but we may even have been doing it for a while, but we can't seem to get any traction. Maybe we've got social media, and we're putting it out there, but we can't seem to actually make any money with it. It's taken a lot of our time and energy. What's the ROI? Maybe you're one of those people that says, well, we know we have to, but where do we even start with this whole thing? And then there's the last couple categories where people really just don't believe in this thing. They think our clients don't care about content, our clients don't do all that, it's a complete waste of time. Well, before you jump to that last conclusion, that it is a complete waste of time, I'd like to share with you a couple of important statistics. These are facts that have been proven by business research institutes that are well known throughout the world. Aberdeen is one of them. And Aberdeen has told us that website conversions on sites that have content marketing are actually 6 times higher than those who don't. So if you got a website and you're wanting to actually convert people coming to your website into customers, you will probably need some content in order to get to that next level. Another interesting fact that Aberdeen has put out is that year-over-year growth in unique website traffic is almost 8 times higher for content market leaders versus those who lag behind. So in other words, if you have, if you have a website and you want to have unique traffic, in other words, new people coming, and that means that you're going to need to develop some content to attract interest to your site in order to convert those people into actual customers. Brands that create 15 blog posts per month average 1,200 new leads per month. That's just by Hubspot. Hubspot is one of the most successful content marketers. Very new company. It's less than 10 years old, but has become a preeminent leader in the CRM space, customer relationship management space, simply by putting out amazing content. I've been one of the watchers of Hubspot since it started, and I can't believe the stuff they put out. If you want to know anything about content marketing, you can go to their website and you'll be able to download free newsletters, free webinars, free papers, all kinds of stuff that will help you to get there. Our goals for the rest of today's time is to overview current trends in content marketing. Secondly, to review marketing basics that are key to effective content creation. And number 3, to introduce a roadmap or a blueprint for content marketing planning. That third one is very important because it's one thing to know about content marketing, but you need to be able to write the map so that you actually can get down the road. So 3 key questions as we're moving forward. Number 1, what is content marketing? There's a bit of confusion about that. Number 2, how can we use content to turn browsers into buyers, and what is the process for that? Number 3, what mistakes should we avoid? Let's look at those questions now. First of all, what is content marketing? Content creation is simply a way of providing stories and facts and ideas that build trust with our targets, our clients, and potential clients. And so in other words, it's a way of creating a marketing and sales funnel that allows us to nurture our prospects and work with them over time to provide extra value that makes them want to buy our products and services. That's what it means to build trust. Content marketing itself is a system of two-way communications that builds an ongoing, trustworthy, high-value relationship with clients and potential clients. So it's easy for people to purchase our products and services. I want to focus on a couple of words here. It's a system. That means you need to think through all the parts of it ahead of time. And it's a two-way communication, not just a one-way. So in other words, you're putting stuff out there, but you're also listening to people and creating a dialogue. That builds an ongoing, trustworthy, high-value relationship, and content is part of that process. In order to have that system, you need a program. You need an organized series of communications across a variety of platforms that captures your client's imagination, provides value, and meets their needs and aspirations. One way you can do this, that's a bit of a shortcut if you want, is to collect and distribute third-party content, and that's content curation. And that would be of interest to your target market, but you don't necessarily have to write all the content yourself. You can actually forward on other people's stuff, and that's also of high value and puts you in the center of influence position with your market. Content platforms are standardized means of presenting content, and these are things that we already know about, like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and iTunes. TripAdvisor is one that I love. I've been not only a person who uses it to take trips, but I've also been a commenter on that, and that's been a lot of fun. For other things like Yelp and Huffington Post, these are all content platforms that we can take advantage of in order to grow our business. There are 4 essential goals of great content, and that is, again, the purpose of content being how to build trust with your audience. The first one is education. Educate is an interesting word. It comes from the Latin or Greek word educo, which means to lead out. That means you're going to lead them out of the situation that they're currently in and get them to a better place. This can look different for every client and customer, but you're going to be the person or the company that's going to do that. And when you're able to do that well, you are in a powerful position with your target market. The reason why we focus on education is to produce empowerment. And the fact is that people are going to empower themselves whether you like it or not. We have an open marketplace. Everybody can get the information that they want when they want it. And so if we're not the one that's educating them and empowering them, they may go and trust someone else more than they trust us. We don't want that to happen. We want to be the preeminent person or business in their mind. The third one is inspire, and that has to do with actually giving them a different vision for where they can go. The number one example of this might be Apple, which invented a whole marketplace based on inspiration. People, taking people from a place that they had no idea they could go with a product they'd never thought of before, and actually inspiring them to purchase that product and make that leap. That is a really important focus for content, number 3. And then the fourth one, and this is actually the most important of all of them in a sense because it's the final one, is we want to invite decision. We want to create content that gives people a sense that it's going to be this or that, and they need to make a decision about it now. And that is that's a real process to learn how to do that well. So those are the 4 essential goals of great content. Let's just review a few marketing basics, and I don't want to bore you with stuff if you already know this, but sometimes I find that companies get going and they don't think about this for a while, and then it kind of bites them later. Brand is one of the most important underlying concepts in content, and what it means is you've got to have a central organizing theme or set of ideas or philosophy, a set of values and a vision that is going to get your message out to the marketplace in a way that they resonate with. Branding is absolutely key and foundational to great content. And the reason for that is that it's not about what you think or even about what the research shows in the marketplace. It is what your customer thinks about you. It's mind share. It's how they experience you. It's when, where, and how often. And that isn't going to happen accidentally. You got to think that all through ahead of time. Your branded communications need to tell your story. They need to tell what you do. That's your mission. They need to tell why you do it. That's your purpose and your vision. They need to know to tell who it specifically is targeted towards. Now, you don't always have to state this obviously. You don't have to say, well, my product and service is targeted towards women. You can just give that message by showing women in your visuals, or you can have women testimonials and that kind of thing. But your brand needs to communicate who you are talking to and what it is about them that your product and service can serve. And that relates to the last thing, which is why should they care? That's your brand promise. These are very important foundational pieces. Now, what I find in this current marketplace is your brand and your story can actually be required to change on a much more rapid basis than before. There's so many things going on in the marketplace, but you want to get the sense about your brand. You want to get the sense about the things about your brand that are not going to change over time, and that you're going to, that's going to stay central to yourself and your company over time. So now another marketing basic is that communication is a two-way street, and I mentioned that earlier. It's important not only to get your message out there, but it's important also to listen to your market in order to discern where your market wants you to go. And that can be expressed through Twitter, through Facebook, through other online influencers, through surveys and coaching calls. And by the way, we are talking online here, but all of these principles apply to the face-to-face component to your brand and your marketing as well. So what you're really looking for is a way to integrate your face-to-face and your online program. But online is increasingly important, and as we've seen through these statistics that we quoted earlier. Your brand promise is what exists about you in the mind of your target market, and it needs to answer the question, how does your product or service make a difference in your clients' lives? In other words, what is in it for them? Now, most of us who've been in business for a while have kind of heard this before. You know, we have to focus on benefits and not just features and all that stuff. And I find that people may talk about that, but it's important to really understand what that means for your business. You know, what are the benefits in the stuff that you're offering for your target market? And you can describe that in a number of ways. You can describe it as pains, or by taking away a problem or providing a solution. And you can talk about how it helps them to get to the next level. So you focus on the pains of the folks and how you're going to help take that away, but you also talk about how you're going to help them get to that next level. So as an important component of that, it's important to develop content that resonates with your target market. What do I mean by resonates? Well, resonate comes from the idea of the tuning fork, where you're wanting the tuning fork to tell you how to tune the note on the piano. And you want to be able to tune your brand so that your people actually tune in to your frequency. Because if they don't, there's so much noise out there in the marketplace that it's going to be pretty hard for you to get your voice heard and get your product noticed. Now, the way that we do that resonant content is we start by thinking about who are we wanting to create this content for, and what the heck do they need from us to be able to listen to us in the marketplace. So buyer personas is a very interesting concept. Another way to phrase this would be an avatar. Create a persona or an avatar of the person that is going to be purchasing your products or services. Maybe it's a female manager, or maybe it's a business owner. Maybe it's an older person. Maybe it's a younger person. So this is a system for organizing who are your clients. What are their typical needs? What are their typical aspirations? So that you can start to speak into those and become a trusted center of influence for them. This would be an example here would be a 40-year-old vice president of sales. This person might be responsible to the CEO. Maybe his priorities, and I'm going to make him a male, could also be a female. Priority is to make his numbers, but he's not currently doing so. So he's going to be feeling and thinking some things that maybe we can speak into. Maybe he's taken some steps to change, but they've failed for certain reasons. And that would give us another set of content that we could write that would help to address those needs and aspirations. We might also want to think about why, as our own company, we might win or lose with this prospect. Can we target some content that would help us win as opposed to lose in his or her buying process? And then maybe there's going to be some circumstances that trigger a buying decision. Can we speak into that? Can we help them think that through? Can we identify who the competitors are and how we might be better than those competitors, and so on? Can we develop some decision criteria that they're likely to be using, and again speak into that? So the buyer persona is a very powerful tool and is foundational to creating excellent content. This would just be a visual of a way that we can start creating a buyer persona called an empathy map. I love doing these empathy maps. They always help me come up with ideas that I never thought of before. So supposing we take that VP of sales and we name him Jack, and we think about what's he experiencing as he's going through his day, and how is our brand going to speak into that? What is he hearing? Maybe he's hearing voices from his CEO who's kind of coming onto his case and criticizing him. Maybe he's feeling not so great because he's not making his numbers. Maybe he's writing memos that aren't going anywhere or doing anything. Maybe he's, who knows what he's saying, who knows what he's seeing. This is what we have to think about ahead of time so that we can picture how our content is going to speak into those various situations in our person's life. Here is a structured way of thinking about how to turn browsers into buyers. And the source of this diagram is Robert Middleton. He has a wonderful website called actionplan.com. I'd encourage any person to go and look at it because he's got some great ideas about marketing. But really there's 4 steps that are involved in the process, and we move around from the top, like in a clockwise fashion from the top of the page. So we start with the idea of awareness. In other words, we need to become, we need for our potential customers and maybe even our current customers to become aware of what all that we are up to and to be wanting to connect with us in a positive way. So in that section, we're going to be changing a person from a stranger into someone who has our attention or whose attention we have. One of those two. Anyway, and then from there, we move on to the next part, which is to attract interest. So once they become aware of us, we want to create interest that makes them want to hang around with us. We want to move them from familiarity to information and experience. The third part is that we want to create desire. So maybe they have a need that's not yet met. Maybe they have an aspiration where they want to move forward and they don't know how to get there. And we're going to present the case that makes them want to desire to interact with us. And then from there, it's just a few steps to get them to take action. And so that means we want to actually initiate a conversation that would move us towards closer towards closing the sale. So we want to go from home base to first base, second base, third base, and back to home. So how do we create content that can focus on that first step, creating awareness? All right, well, so we're going to have a free webinar, a teleseminar. We're going to do a website video. we want to maybe think about, well, help them think about, well, what to consider when you're wanting to buy X, or when maybe some common myths about things and so on. We want to have reports and case studies, maybe an infographic. Anything visual, by the way, is going to produce really much more positive results on the internet than almost anything else. That's another statistic that we didn't quote, but it's really out there in full force. Social sharing with images, that increases virality if you've got some interesting images. And you might want to get start some interaction right away by having your person do some kind of survey or assessment, and then help them make a choice. So then you want to have them click here for the next step. All along, you want to make sure that you harvest their email address, because we can talk about social media all we want, but the way to actually close sales is through email marketing. We need to be able to develop our list, and our list is a kind of capital. It's like gold, because once we have their email address with their permission, then we can keep in touch with them and move them along the stages of our funnel. So we want the second stage would be content to increase interest. So basically the focus here is regular. So in other words, the focus on the previous stage was just getting their attention. Here we want to focus on regular connection, which creates familiarity and provides information and builds an experience of a positive experience of our brand. So this is where we might want to have a webinar series, or we might have a series of high-value videos that we put out through email. We might have a YouTube channel, or we might do podcasts. We might have subscriptions, games, contests, social sharing, all kinds of ways to bring people into our tribe and keep them there. The third one is, the third stage in our funnel is to increase desire. And this is where we want to invite action. And that is where we might present the challenges that they're experiencing. We might really clearly show the outcomes of purchasing our product or service. We might have a presentation. And this kind of content highlights the challenges and the potential solutions that include ours, and notes the gap between the current reality and their future aspirations. It points that out, and it makes them see that they have a choice to make. It offers a chance to participate in research and maybe receive a report later. Maybe it's going to be video testimonials, again, social sharing. Sometimes webinars and coaching calls can be extremely valuable because it brings people together in a community environment and allows you to provide information that they need in order to make a decision. That can really be helpful in the desire phase. And then the fourth phase is action. And really the focus here is creating that decision point where they realize it's yes or no. You have a product or service. You introduce scarcity sometimes. Maybe we've only got a few seats left. Maybe there's a time limit. If you mail before midnight tonight, that's the most famous one. Then you want to bombard them with social proof. So then you're going to have success stories. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll have some celebrity testimonials, certainly some client testimonials, and that's going to really kind of fan the flames and get them to take the action that you want them to take. Content can help you to get them to this point. There are 6 mistakes to avoid when content marketing, and these relate to the things that we've already talked about, so it's kind of a summary. The first one is to have an unclear brand promise, and this is easy to say and harder to get to that clarity. Believe me, I know I've done it a few times myself, and it's really, really important that you keep listening and keep focusing that brand so that it reflects what you want it to it reflects the experience that you want the customer to have and the mind share that you want to have in their mind. So the second mistake is to take a scattershot approach and not to have an overall strategy. Lots of people are still making this mistake. It was a perfectly fine phase in the first days of social media to have a scattershot approach where you just put this out and that and you just kind of throw stuff out there to see what would stick. That is no longer effective, and it's no longer acceptable. People are too discriminating and there's too much choice, so you need to be able to focus that scattershot approach and make it consistent and effective over time. The third mistake is to have information and content that is of low value and or low frequency. If it's low value, it just means, well, it's so easy to ignore and I don't really need this. If it's low frequency, people will actually forget who you are. If you're not in their inbox like, once a week or once every other week, they will actually forget who you are, because in the meantime 100 people have emailed them, and there you go. The fourth step is no levels. The fourth mistake to avoid, no levels. What do I mean by that? Well, it's important when you are creating the content to allow people to get to know you and connect with you at many different levels. You want the earliest stages to be absolutely risk-free. In other words, they're going to give you their email, but they're going to get something really valuable for it, and then you're going to be able to have them in your funnel, and you're going to be able to move them to the next level. If you don't have the levels in your mind ahead of time, it's really hard to leverage what you're putting out there. So you'll end up creating a lot of content, but you won't really get much out of it. We want to avoid that mistake. The fifth mistake is to not provide a purchase opportunity or a paywall. So in other words, that kind of goes with the scattershot approach. We're not providing an actual funnel with a series of content that you've thought through ahead of time that leads to a decision. And then the sixth mistake is to do automation, which is really key and crucially important for good marketing. But if you make it impersonal, or you just automate to a list that is not what we call segmented, so that you have different kinds of communications going out to different kinds of people, if you keep that all impersonal and too general, again, that's going to backfire, and that's a big mistake to avoid. Here are 5 steps that you can do right away to start your content engine. These are important foundational steps. And the first step is always pre-communication with your target groups. If you pre-communicate, and by that I mean maybe you're going to send out a survey, maybe you're going to do a little focus group, maybe you're just going to talk to people as you're going to networking events, maybe make sure you pick a question of the night and ask all the people there the same question, just so you get the information. I know when I did this in my early days, I would go out and speak in groups, and I would have a little communication card. On the front of the card, I'd get them to put whatever content or whatever contact information they were willing to give me. And then on the back of that card, I would put a survey, and I'd ask the people to do it, and I'd give them a good reason. Sometimes there would be a potential to win a prize. That was all part of my communication process. And it was interesting in my early days because I discovered 2 really, really key areas of pain for small business owners. The first one was time management, because there's always many, many things pressing on a person's time when they're first starting a business. And the second one was sales, because in that stage of business, sales are preeminent. So what I did was I was able to create content and resources that related to those key target needs and aspirations of my target market, just by pre-communicating with them. Another step would be to create those buyer personas, including that empathy map. If you need more information on this stuff, there's lots of information on the internet. I would encourage you to really focus on the buyer persona and empathy map stage or step, so that you get really clear about who your people are and what is on their minds, so that you can focus your content on what they want to hear and what they need. From there, what you can do is you can take one simple story that focuses on how your solution can help. So say in my early days, what I did was I said, well, everybody's got problems with time management. I'm going to create an email program that is going to help them work with that. So then they can download this free email program on time management, and then they can, they will be able to, in 30 days, get better at it. So that was one simple story that helped. And that was a topic of focus as well. From there, what you can do is you can open an editorial calendar. And again, in my case, just as an example, my focus right now is I have divided businesses up into 10 key areas where we need to focus on building best practices in order to help people grow. And I'm going to be writing into that over time, so that each month we'll have different best practices and that kind of thing. That's a sort of thing that you can do to get your content engine started. From there, it's important to take these 5 action steps that will shift your content marketing into a higher gear. And this is number 1 is I could have probably put it at the beginning of the first list as well, because it is just so key to segment your email list. Get that email list going. but then actually divide it into segments. In my case, I work with a lot of professional service providers, and so I've actually segmented it into the different industries that are represented. So say, for example, financial planners, or maybe it's going to be construction folks, maybe it's going to be consultants, so that people actually are in different categories in my email database, and therefore I can target specific emails into those sectors. And that is really helpful because then I can speak to them personally and I can give them content that's going to apply directly to their situation. You need to be aware as you're doing about all of that it's important to be aware of the CAN-SPAM legislation. In other words, it used to be possible for you to go to a networking event and just download things into download the contact information into your email list and then start communicating with people. Well, actually, you're able to send them one email at this point saying, it was nice to meet you, and please, if you are interested, give me permission to continue to communicate with you. You're allowed to do that, but that's all you can do. So that means that you really have to have that segmented email list so that you can speak into different markets and different situations, and while still being compliant with the law. So another step that you can take to shift that content marketing to high gear is to create a core resource that is based around those needs and aspirations. And this is going to be something like a case study, a video, a self-study program. Video is one of the most effective ways to get your message out there. And the interesting thing is that the market is still fairly tolerant of videos that are not all polished and preserved. They're still pretty tolerant of videos that are authentic and that just express what your company is all about. And so you want to get the highest quality you can, but if you can't afford a big expensive video, just do a video because it's a good start. You have to start somewhere. Don't be intimidated by that, the need to be perfect. Just get one out there and get some of these other things going on as well. And the third thing would be to create a blog. And blogs have been around for a long time. People have varying degrees of success with blogs. But if you create a blog and you write on a regular basis, for example, if you put out those 15 blog posts per month, you're going to get a lot more traffic on your site. So create that blog and use that as a platform to create content that your market can use. From there, blog about your resource. So in other words, you can see it's a bit of a self-perpetuating thing here. You're going to leverage the content. You're not just going to create it once and forget about it. You're going to leverage it and talk about it and point people back to other blog posts and so on. Get it going in a bit of a spiral. And then you can spray that resource out into the marketplace by creating further blog posts, cross posts, guest posts, and so on, videos, YouTube, and so on. All kinds of ways you can get that content out there once you've created it. Well, I think that's all I'm going to say about content today. I hope that's given you a bit of a basis to get started if you're not already started. And if you have already started creating content, hopefully it's given you a few things to think about so that you can review the content that you're already putting out there and see if you can get any new ideas about how to put that out there. I would be happy to talk to anyone who's interested more on this topic. I find that content really relates strongly to brand development. It's important that you have those key foundation pieces finished or done so that you actually understand what is the content that I'm trying to put out there and what is that all about. Happy to talk to you at any time. You've got all my contact information here. I would love to link with you on LinkedIn and Facebook. Please write me an email, and there's my website. So thank you for listening, and all the best with your content development.
Thank you for coming in today, Lois. As mentioned, you can contact Lois directly, or you can contact me for her information, and this webinar will be posted on our website for you to review if you have any thoughts that you missed and weren't able to write down. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.